Welcome to the Truth in My Days podcast, where we defend the Word of God against the challenges of men.
Hi, I'm Sonia, and I'm back with John Torres for another podcast of Truth in My Days Ministries. And today, John is going to be discussing whether it's possible to have meaning in life without a belief in God. John, I recently came across a bumper sticker that says, "He who dies with the most toys wins." What do you think of that?
I think it's meant to encapsulate somewhat whimsically the secular approach to life and the idea that they have for the meaning of life. For a lot of people, it's just about accumulating things, getting the best job, climbing the corporate ladder, buying a nice house, then a bigger house, the one that's bigger than your neighbor's house, have the best cars, maybe a boat, the best clothes, maybe the best vacations, a vacation home, jewelry, and so on. The especially important thing is to have more than your neighbors do. And so whoever dies with the most of these toys wins. But then you have to ask that question, wins what? And to them, it's the game of life, of course. That's what they're winning. Get as much as you can, and if you get more than the people around you, you win. And that's actually the message with which we are being bombarded every day by the world. But do you actually win that way? How do you win? According to the Bible, Job points out in Job 1:21b, "Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked shall I return there. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." And then again in Ecclesiastes 5:15, "As he came from his mother's womb, naked shall he return to go as he came. And he shall take nothing from his labor, which he may carry away in his hand." And so the Bible points out repeatedly that whatever you may accumulate on earth, you can't take with you. And not only that, but beyond that, in 1 Timothy 6:6-10, we read this, "Now godliness with contentment is great gain. For we brought nothing into this world, and it is certain we can carry nothing out. And having food and clothing, with these we shall be content. But those who desire to be rich fall into temptation and a snare, and into many foolish and harmful lusts, which drown men in destruction and perdition. For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil, for which some have strayed from the faith in their greediness, and pierced themselves through with many sorrows." So the attempt to make the meaning of life to be the accumulation of goods, it leads to foolish, harmful lusts, destruction, perdition, many sorrows. So you do not win the game of life by accumulating things. So how can you do it? How can you have meaning in life if you're a secularist, somebody who does not believe in God? Can there be meaning and purpose in life without God? And this is a big problem for atheists and secularists.
But why is it a problem? Because if atheism is true and Christianity is not, then it's just too bad for us if there's no meaning or whatever. That doesn't seem to have bearing on whether atheism is true or not.
And you're correct about that. This fact in itself does not disprove atheism. Atheism is disproved through facts, logic, and science. We've pointed out elsewhere that the fact that the world and the life in it exists requires some kind of explanation as to where it came from. The only two possible explanations are that these were created or they were not created. There's no other option. If we were not created, then the world and the life in it must have come about by random natural processes, naturalistic processes. And there are laws of science we've discovered that prove these cannot have happened. First law of thermodynamics tells us something could not come from nothing by any natural process. So where did the world come from in the first place? The second law of thermodynamics tells us that all natural processes tend towards disorder. So how did a random mass of subatomic particles flying away from each other turn into complex solar systems and galaxies and so on? How did simple non-living chemicals self-assemble to give you the proteins and DNA, and then self-assemble to cell the things you would need for life? how did this cell, if you could form one, how did it come to life when the law of biogenesis tells us that life can only come from already living things, already living matter? So atheism is impossible. This fact that it gives you no meaning doesn't make it impossible, but it does become a big problem in terms of the selling point, trying to convince people to abandon God, and B, for those people who hold to it, it is a problem because we are designed to seek for meaning and purpose. And so they have to try to cobble something together to give themselves some kind of meaning. It's very difficult to live life if you actually believe you're in a cosmic accident.
Well, why can't the pursuit of one's own happiness be the meaning?
Well, that's what a lot of them try to do. As we said, the accumulation of goods is related to that. They think having the goods will make them happy. Whether it does or not is another story. If you look at people in society who've achieved the things that society says will make you happy, the ones that have gotten to the fame, the adulation, the money, the movie stars, the athletes, and so on, the ones who have everything the world says you need to be happy, how many of them are really happy? Why do we have such high levels of drug abuse, family breakdown, and so on amongst these very people? Now, beyond this, beyond one's personal life, if you're an atheist and you hold to this concomitant model of evolution, you believe that the universe is heading towards heat death. And heat death means that as the universe is progressing through time, some of its available energy is being lost in the form of heat, useless heat, and this is spreading out, and it's going to reach a point where you get universal thermal equilibrium. Everything in the universe will be at exactly the same temperature, exactly the same energy level, and when that happens, all chemical processes will cease. Nothing will be alive again. The universe will be left as a cold, dead husk.
Okay, but unless you believe that the heat death is going to occur within your lifetime, why would you care as an atheist?
Well, there are atheists who argue that you shouldn't care. And that actually brings us into an article we're going to look at today. And this is written by Michael Shermer. Michael Shermer, as you may know, used to be an evangelical Christian. He abandoned the faith and has become an arch skeptic. He founded Skeptic magazine. He remains the managing editor of it. And he's written quite a number of books and articles trying to tear down Christian faith. But he recognizes that there's a problem if there's no meaning in the atheist life. And so he tries very hard to argue that there is, in fact, meaning to it. And he's wrote an article, which was published in Scientific American. It was called Alvey's Error and the Meaning of Life. And in it, it's subtitled, Science Reveals Our Deepest Purpose. Shermer really, really wants to believe that you can be an atheist and still have meaning in life. And in this article, he does his best to argue for that and lists as well a university philosophy professor. So I think that this is probably as good a case as you're going to get to have a meaningful life in atheism.
And what does he say?
Well, that's what we'll look at today. His article, as I said, it's called Alvey's Error and the Meaning of Life. And the reason I mentioned heat death is because this is where he starts out. The Alvey in Alvey's Error is a character from the 1977 Woody Allen movie called Annie Hall. And in this movie, Alvey is supposed to be doing his homework, and he doesn't want to because he feels there's no point. He points out that the universe is heading to heat death, and so anything people do will ultimately go to nothing, and as a result, it's meaningless. So why bother trying?
The kid probably just doesn't want to do his homework. I mean, that's not going to affect his personal life.
Well, it would affect his personal life if he doesn't do his homework, he doesn't do well at school, he doesn't get a good job, and so on.
Yeah, so that would seem to be a meaning for him.
Except it isn't. He's looking beyond that. He's looking beyond just the here and now in his own life. He's looking at the cosmic scale and saying, ultimately, there is no meaning to life. Now, Shermer wants to point out that this is an error that Alvey has misunderstood. He's missed the big picture, ironically. Shermer says that we should, and I quote here, call it Alvey's error, assessing the purpose of something at the wrong level of analysis. The level at which we should assess our actions is the human timescale of days, weeks, months, and years. Our lifespan of 40 plus or minus 10, not the billions of years of the cosmic calendar. It is a mistake made by theologians when arguing that without a source external to our world to vouchsafe morality and meaning, nothing really matters.
Well, whether something matters or not, though, isn't that kind of subjective?
If there's a God, it's not subjective. If there's no God, it is subjective. And here's the real problem for the atheists. Without any objective meaning to it, the atheist either has to choose between some sort of hedonism based on personal preferences, or he's faced with nihilism. And Shermer tries to get around that by saying, well, when we're looking at the heat death of the universe, we're looking at the wrong level of analysis. The problem with that is what exactly is the correct level of analysis we should be using? And when Shermer uses it, does he succeed in finding meaning in an atheist life? What he does is he goes now to a debate that took place in the year 2009 at Columbia University. It pitted two philosophers against each other, a Christian philosopher named William Lane Craig and the Yale University philosopher Shelley Kagan. And Shermer, when Craig is arguing against the idea of meaning in the atheist life, and he does appeal to heat death of the universe, Shermer asserts that Craig committed Alvey's error here. Now, what Craig said was, pointing ahead to the heat death of the universe, he said, quote, "There will be no life, no heat, no light, only the corpses of dead stars and galaxies expanding into endless darkness."
Thank you, everyone, for listening today. Unfortunately, we have run out of time, but please join us for the next part tomorrow. Same time and same place. If you enjoy our content and think this is important material, the best compliment you can pay is by sharing this with your friends and family. This helps us out a lot. Also, if you enjoyed today's program, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to this podcast. We would love to hear from you. Thank you for listening to the Truth in My Days podcast with John Torse. We would love to hear from you. Please feel free to share any questions or comments you may have. You can reach us on Facebook, Instagram, MeWe, and YouTube. Simply search Truth in My Days as one word. Again, Truth in My Days as one word, no spaces in between. And you can connect with us. You may also visit our website for more comprehensive material and to learn more about our ministry. Our website is truthinmydays.com. Thank you.